I'm sitting here staring at a blank screen, wondering how my life turned into a cliche. You know those stories you hear on YouTube? The ones where the wife thinks everything is fine until it's suddenly not? I used to listen to those while folding laundry, thinking, thank God that's not me. But here I am. My name isn't important. Let's just say I've been with my husband for over a decade, 11 years to be exact. We have two beautiful kids, a toddler and a preschooler. He's the guy everyone envies. He's the dad who's always at the park, the husband who actually does the dishes without being asked. He's been my rock, or so I thought. The slow fade, the silence didn't happen overnight. It was like a slow leak in a tire. You don't notice it until you're driving on the rim. After our first was born, things changed for me physically. It's hard to talk about, but my drive, it just vanished. Complications, hormones, exhaustion. It was a perfect storm. I felt broken, and I told him that. It's okay, he would whisper, kissing my forehead. I'm here. I understand. I believed him. I thought we were just in that young kid trench where you're both too tired to be lovers, so you just settle for being teammates. I knew I was neglecting the us part of our marriage, but he never complained, not once. No demands, no arguments, just silence. I took that silence for patience. I didn't realize it was actually resentment, quietly rotting behind his teeth. The breaking point, everything cracked open 3 weeks ago. It started over something pathetic. I think I forgot to pick up something specific from the store, a $5 mistake. But instead of the usual no worries, babe, he snapped, the dam broke. I've been miserable for 5 years, he told me. He wasn't yelling. That was the scariest part. His voice was cold, hollow. I felt the air leave my lungs. I asked him what he meant. I asked if it was the stress, the house, the kids. I love them, he said, finally looking at me. But I never wanted this, any of it. I'm not in love with you anymore. I'm not even attracted to you. It felt like he'd reached into my chest and squeezed my heart until it stopped. We sat there for hours. It was the first real conversation we'd had in years, but it was a funeral for our marriage. He told me he felt like a ghost in his own life. I cried, I listened, and I begged for a chance to fix it. I thought we reached a breakthrough. We promised to try. I started putting in 200% effort immediately. The paranoia. But then the voice in my head started whispering. If he'd been this unhappy for this long, was he really doing it alone? I've never been the jealous type. We always had an open phone policy. So one night, I just needed some peace of mind. I picked up his phone to check a photo of the kids. The screen glowed, asking for a passcode. I entered his old one, the same four numbers he'd used since we met. Incorrect. I tried again. Incorrect. My stomach did a slow flip. When I asked him about it later, he didn't even blink. Oh, I forgot the old one, he said casually. I had to reset it. Who forgets a 4-digit code they've used for 12 years? I tried to let it go. I told myself I was being that wife, the paranoid one. But then I started noticing the small things, like the bank statements. Every morning, on his way to his office downtown, there was a charge for a local bakery. 2 lattes every single day. I told myself maybe he was just being nice to a coworker. Maybe he was just extra thirsty. But the pit in my stomach was growing into a black hole. The next few days were a blur of fake smiles and screaming silence. I was playing the part of the recovering wife. I cooked his favorite meals, I dressed up, I tried to initiate conversations that didn't involve the kids' school schedule. I was desperate to prove to him and to myself that we were worth saving. But the lattes, those two lattes on the bank statement haunted me. Every time I saw that small, repetitive charge, I felt like I was losing my mind. I started doing mental gymnastics, trying to find a logical explanation. Maybe he was buying one for his boss. Maybe it was a loyalty card thing. I was gaslighting myself. Then came the little changes in his behavior. He started taking his phone into the bathroom every single time. He'd stay in there for 20 minutes, and I'd sit on the edge of our bed listening to the muffled hum of the fan, knowing he was texting her or someone. My skin felt too tight for my body. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I was becoming a detective in my own home, and I hated the person I was turning into. The discovery. Last night, the universe decided I'd had enough of the lies. He was upstairs putting our youngest to bed. I heard the low murmur of his voice reading a story. That perfect dad voice that used to make me melt. Now it just made my blood run cold. His work bag was sitting on the kitchen island. Usually I wouldn't dream of touching it. I've always respected his privacy. But my hand moved before my brain could stop it. My heart was hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it would bruise. I unzipped the side pocket. Nothing but pens and old receipts. I opened the main compartment, pushing aside his laptop, and there they were, envelopes. Not bills, not work documents. These were handwritten. My breath hitched. I pulled them out, and the smell of a perfume that wasn't mine filled the kitchen. It was sweet, cloying, like rotting flowers. I opened the first one. I didn't want to read the words, but I couldn't stop. They went back to January. 8 months. 8 months of I love you. I can't wait for us to be together forever, and I hate how much I miss you when we're at the office. She wrote about how hard it was for her to wait. She wrote about their deep connection. It was a manifesto of betrayal. I felt like I was watching my life burn down in slow motion. But then I reached deeper into the bag. My fingers brushed against something soft, something that didn't belong in a man's briefcase. I pulled it out. It was a pair of socks. Small, feminine, floral socks. I just stared at them. Of all the things I expected, lingerie, a hotel key, a photo, I found socks. It was so domestic, so intimate, and so incredibly insulting. Why did he have them? Did she change in his car? Did he keep them like some sick trophy? The absurdity of it made me want to laugh and scream at the same time. The confrontation, I didn't wait for him to come downstairs. I went up. I stood in the doorway of the nursery, holding the letters in one hand and those pathetic floral socks in the other. He looked up from the crib, and for a split second, he looked annoyed that I'd interrupted the story. Then he saw what I was holding. Every bit of color drained from his face. He looked like a man who had just seen his own ghost. I called you an ass, I whispered, my voice cracking. No, you're worse than that. You're a coward. I didn't care about waking the baby anymore. I threw the socks at his face. They hit his shoulder and fell to the floor like dead birds. Who is she? I demanded. And why the hell are her socks in your bag? He started stuttering. The perfect communicator was suddenly lost for words. He told me it wasn't what it looked like. He told me it wasn't physical. Only kisses, only hugs. They worked together. It was just an emotional connection because he was so lonely. Lonely. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to scream that I was the one who was lonely, drowning in diapers and housework while he was out buying lattes for his mistress. Choose, I said. It was an ultimatum I never thought I'd have to give. Her or us, right now, no more I don't know, no more I'm tired. Choose. He hesitated. That half second of silence was the loudest thing I've ever heard. It told me everything I needed to know about where I stood in his heart. But then he looked at the crib, then back at me, and whispered, You, I choose you. He chose me. Those were the words I thought would bring me peace, but instead they tasted like ash. After the confrontation, the house fell into a terrifyingly quiet routine. He ended it with her. At least, that's what he says. He sent the text while I watched, my heart cold as stone. I saw him type the words that severed an 8-month lifeline. And then I saw it. I saw the grief on his face. It's the most twisted thing I've ever experienced. I'm the victim here. I'm the one who spent years raising his children, fighting my own body, and begging for a scrap of his attention. But as the days went by, I watched him walk around our house like a man at a funeral. He was mourning her. He was quiet, withdrawn, his eyes red from lack of sleep, and God help me, a part of me, a sick, empathetic part of me, actually felt bad for him. I saw him hurting because he had to let go of something that made him feel alive, and I hated myself for noticing it. I give zero shits about her feelings. I hope she never finds a moment of peace. But seeing my husband, the man I still love despite everything, in pain, it broke me in a way the affair hadn't even managed to. I started looking in the mirror and hating what I saw, not just because of the lack of libido or the exhaustion of motherhood, but because I started convinced myself that I drove him to it. If I had just tried harder, I whispered to my reflection. If I hadn't been so tired, if I had forced the conversation sooner, I know a sane person would tell me to pack my bags. My friends, if I told them, would be at my door with moving boxes and a lawyer's phone number. But I can't reach out to them. I can't bear the look of pity in their eyes. I can't stand the thought of them judging him, because if they judge him, they're judging my choice to stay, and I am staying. We're trying to move forward. That's what we call it, anyway. We've started dating again. We sit at dinner and try to talk about things that aren't the kids or the affair. But she is always there. She's the third chair at the table. She's the shadow in the corner of our bedroom. Every time his phone buzzes, I feel a jolt of electricity go through my spine. Every time he's 10 minutes late from work, I'm back in that kitchen holding those floral socks. He tells me they weren't physical, just kisses, just hugs, he repeats like a mantra. Part of me knows he's probably lying. I mean, who keeps a woman's socks in their bag for just a hug? But another part of me, the part that needs to survive, just chooses to believe him. I've stopped asking. I've stopped digging because I'm terrified of what else I might find. I feel a deep sense of shame. I'm a strong woman, or I thought I was. I always said I'd never be the wife who stays after an affair. I used to judge those women. Now I am one. We have too much together. 12 years. The house with the creaky third step. The way our oldest son has his father's laugh. The way our youngest reaches for him in the middle of the night. How do you just walk away from that? How do you tell a 5-year-old that daddy is leaving because he bought someone else lattes and kept her socks in his bag? I can't do it. I just can't. So I'm here in this liminal space, praying that we can fix what's broken, praying that one day I'll look at him and won't see the letters. But sometimes when it's late at night and the kids are finally asleep, I lie in bed next to him and feel the distance. He's right there. I could reach out and touch his shoulder, but it feels like he's miles away, still wandering in that bakery, still holding a latte for a woman who isn't me. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe I just needed to say it out loud without someone telling me to leave him. I know the judgment is coming. I know people will call me weak. But unless you've stood in the wreckage of a 12-year life, holding a pair of floral socks while your children sleep upstairs, you don't know. You just don't know. I'm not asking for a miracle. I'm just asking for a way to breathe again.